Let's do it.
Are we?
We're live.
Oh yeah, we're live. We did it. Hello, beautiful people. We're ready to do a cord killing, a ceremonial cord killing,
a Star War, a cord kill.
Yeah. Did you go see the Star War?
No, I haven't yet. Heard mixed reviews. Some people love, some people not love.
Yeah, people kind of report how they are by how they phrase it. They're like, they'll say things like, you know what, it was fun. They don't all have to be about, like, all right.
You know, it's okay for a television show to be a 2.5-hour movie I see in a theater.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I definitely heard that.
Yeah. Well, I say we do a show. We are ready at your summoning, sir.
Peril. Welcome to Cordkillers. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we, humble people, are just trying to figure out in this post-apocalyptic landscape of television how to watch what we want, where we want, when we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Brian, is there any good stuff?
Oh, man. You know what? As the resident elephant in the room, sorry, I mean legs crawling out of your face. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm a little bit distracted, Tom.
I'm in Las Vegas, and there's a picture of a couple swimming behind me.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'll definitely be. Yeah. If I get distracted, just say, Brian, my eyes are off to the left, and then I will make sure to look you straight in the eyes.
What if I stay right there for the entire show?
Oh goodness, that would be terrible. Right? Don't do that.
Yeah. What if I do this?
Well, that's fine.
Yeah. So I'm in Las Vegas, but that won't stop me from doing the show. And in fact, we have a pretty interesting story to talk about in the supply run.
Supply run.
Yes, it is an interesting. Sorry, I wasn't sure. Then I checked. It is definitely an interesting story. That's why we put it in the show. The Breakfast Club, hosted by Charlemagne the God. It is a radio show that has become very famous as a YouTube show. We've previously mentioned that Netflix acquired the rights to the full episodes so that you used to only get clips on YouTube now. If you want to watch the full episode, you have to watch it on Netflix. Netflix has stepped it up, though. Starting on June 1st at 6 a.m. Eastern, each episode of The Breakfast Club will air live, well, I guess stream live on Netflix. Ad breaks for the radio version of the live show will have exclusive bonus segments. So while the radio is playing ads, you won't be seeing ads. You'll be getting extra stuff, including behind-the-scene moments, maybe some extended discussion. Brian, Netflix is now doing live daytime television.
Yeah. Tom, if I describe for you, well, let's say hi, Tom, in the past 20 years ago, it's me, Brian Brushwood. You're about to meet me. Your wife is going to play something over and over again about my book, Cheats, Cons, Swindles, and Tricks, 57 Ways to Scam a Free Drink. Later, we're going to do a show about the future of television. Now, I'm going to describe something for you, and just tell me what I'm describing. It's a giant box, bigger and prettier than the box that's in your living room, but on it will be pictorial representations of other things that are happening live, and it'll be in the morning, and it'll just show up in real time. You'll be able to see. They'll be talking about the daily news events, maybe giving some commentary on it. What do you think that's called?
Brian, I think you're describing television?
No. You must not call it that. It'll be a separate thing called Netflix. By the way, that DVD through the mail service, it's later going to be a new thing. We're never going to call it television.
Wait, I have to wait for a DVD of my morning television to come in the mail?
It's complicated. By the way, net neutrality will be a thing, then it won't be a thing, then Brian will bring it up on the show, then it'll be a thing again. I've got to go. Whoa!
Are people still talking about the Sony Rootkit?
The Sony Rootkit, yeah.
Yeah, so no, I would have been like, oh, so my TV will get bigger. That's all I heard you tell me.
Yeah, but
And
essentially, I think what's interesting is we're seeing TV now comes in two dominant flavors, neither of which will cop to being TV. YouTube insists that it's not TV. It's TV. It's the number one TV on the planet.
Yeah.
The number two TV, also in a separate category, refuses to admit that it's TV. It pretends to be movies over the internet. It's also TV now.
Yeah, it was interesting. After we had this conversation, I wrote up a column for my weekly free newsletter about how YouTube has taken over so many parts of television. Like it is pretty much left primetime dramas alone. And there's actually some sports on YouTube, right? Because they have the NFL Sunday Ticket and stuff. But most of the sports is other places. But YouTube has taken all of these other elements of daytime television. And then we get this news at the same time that Netflix is like, but we also would like to be daytime television, specifically morning television in this case. But I don't expect them to stop there. And it is the smartest way to do it. Don't create a show that you then have to convince people to come and watch. Find a show that people are already watching, they're already consuming, and are very interested in watching and consuming, and put it on Netflix. Why not put it on live? If you can get people to start their day with Netflix, they are going to stay with Netflix. That is one way that Netflix makes its money, is keep those people as subscribers. But also, and I know we mentioned that the radio ads are going to have bonus material. I'm very curious if you're an ad-supported Netflix subscriber, what that experience is going to be like. Are you going to get the bonus segments, or are you going to get ads? And if so, where do they go? Because one of the things the ad-supported part of Netflix needs is time spent viewing. The more you watch, the more money they make, because the more ads they can put in front of you. And having a 3-hour daily live show seems like an excellent place to make some money off it.
So there's a couple of different threads to chase, one of which is oftentimes it's very difficult to see the value of prestige. And Netflix has worked very, very hard to elevate its status above all the other streaming services. In fact, one might suggest that its casual bid to buy a big chunk of Hollywood maybe was one of the biggest status elevating plays ever. Because if you're a fan of the Breakfast Club, the status and prestige of that program is only going up because it's like, man, that's practically the movies now. So I think that is a very savvy play. Again, they pretty much telegraphed 15 years ago that that's what they intended to do when they said we're going to pretty much be HBO. HBO elevated itself above television with the whole slogan, it's not TV, it's HBO, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, separately, on the question of advertising and ad-supported tiers, because this is a status elevating play, I think, yes, 100% eventually we start seeing ads. But that seems like something that you can ease into degrading, because as you know, radio advertisers, syndicated radio advertisers, a bit prickly about things that aren't ads that they're selling with ways to consume that stuff. When you and I were at the Twit Network, I know that there was occasionally friction about like, well, yeah, sure, stream your show, who cares, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, hold on. There's an ad-free version of the program?
Yeah, although one thing to keep in mind is iHeartRadio, which is the company that airs it on radio, made the deal with Netflix. Mm-hmm. They get paid either way. So they're not going to mind if Netflix is making more ad money. I don't know how this contract is constructed, but I would presume that the more ad money Netflix makes, the more of a cut iHeartRadio gets out of it. And if you're a consumer who is on the ad-supported tier of Netflix, you're used to getting ads. That's a thing you get already. So,
you know what? You're right.
Suspect
maybe
they're just going to have ads out of the gate and say, well, if you pay for the ad-free version, you get the bonus content. But I don't know. They're not. I haven't seen anything that clears that part of it up.
Yeah. Although, let me make this pitch. If you launch with no ads on the ad tier feed, then you get people accustomed to these bonus vignettes. They know what they are. Then you threaten to take that away unless you move them to the paid tier. So
Except
essentially,
I think they make more money off you on the ad tier. I don't think they want to move you to the paid tier.
Oh, and for anybody who forgot about that part, that is the very shocking, counterintuitive part is, yeah, they all make more money on ad tiers because they can't turn up the amount you pay for the subscription as high as they want, but they can turn up the amount they charge for ads as high as they want. Yeah.
And they can get you to watch more, which means you watch more ads, right?
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a fascinating thing to look at, not even just from that perspective, but also it occurs to me as we were talking here that Netflix has run out of runway. When Netflix launched streaming in the 2000s, single digits, right? First decade of the century, they knew that no one else was going to do it the way they were going to do it. Yes, AOL was doing streaming, and yes, Hulu came along really, really close, but Netflix is like, we basically have this entire market to ourselves. That's why Netflix in the early days put their app everywhere. They're like, we want to dominate. And they were running far in front of everyone. I think they're finally out of runway on that. We are finally in the dogfight where they're like, yeah, we need to compete with you streaming Good Morning America on Disney Plus. We need, we need to have that kind of mind share to be able to maintain our lead.
Have they already started doing something like that on Disney Plus? Because the moment you said that, it's like, of course, ABC, a Disney company, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, you can do that.
I didn't know that.
And Paramount Plus, you can, not that anyone watches CBS this morning,
you
but you can
stream Star Trek This Morning on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, exactly. And same for NBC. You can get the Today Show on Peacock. So this is the world. Everyone has caught up with Netflix in the race. And this is Netflix trying to stay in the lead of that race. I think is another way of looking at this.
Netflix's smartest move would be an Apple-like thing of pretending that the competition doesn't exist, refusing.
Yeah.
And this is also something that YouTube only, and it's so wild because both Netflix and YouTube get to make the same play in different directions. They both get to refuse to act like their competitors, whereas Disney Plus can kind of crown itself. I mean, who could beat Disney Plus as the streaming lord?
Yeah, especially when you add ESPN, which you have to pay a little extra to. But I noticed Disney not minding if you think of ESPN as just a part of the package with Disney Plus. It's pretty compelling. And that's another reason why I think you're seeing the pressure on Netflix to acquire more sports, acquire more NFL games, acquire more streaming sports, not even just in the US. I'm guessing we're going to see some international stuff from them really soon as well, because the US is where they have maxed out on subscriptions. So again, they want to do things that retain those subscriptions, but also increase viewership for people at that ad-supported tier. And sports is another good way to do that. And sports, we know they put ads in, even if you're paying for the subscription tier. So they could make money off you on the subscription tier as well in that case.
Yeah.
We, on the other hand, only put ads on our stream if you don't pay us.
Yeah. Look, we do the healthy thing. We actively degrade our main free feed with ads. But the reason we do it is so that our bosses, turns out they like it. They like knowing with smug superiority that they're getting the superior experience. They're the ones who headed over to patreon.com/Cordkillers, and they give us just a scant $2 an episode. Think about it. You're spending an hour plus with the two of us. Come on, give us each $1 tip. That barely covers rent. It doesn't cover rent, by the way.
I'm in Las Vegas. No tip is $1 in Las Vegas. You get slapped if you give someone $1 tip in Las Vegas.
Yeah, dude. So don't do that.
Won't slap you.
Give us $2 and also prepay for the month. $8 a month. Don't think of it as competing with all those streaming services for many fewer hours. No, it's not the same because we're your friends and we love you. Your other friends, we need you to stop talking to them. We're your only friends. Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. Look, we're going to give you your own RSS feed where you're going to get early access to the full experience, an ad-free experience, exclusive access to the After Talk segment, where for over an hour and a half each month, we show up and give you behind-the-scenes intel on where things are headed. Thank you so much to our beautiful, beautiful bosses who headed on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Let us reward them with the search party.
Yes.
Deadline reports that the Rick and Morty movie is in early development at Warner Brothers. Apparently, Jacob Hare is in talks to direct. Hare joined the Rick and Morty show back in 2019, is a supervising director, has directed a lot of episodes, and they are thinking they might want him to direct the movie.
I'll tell you what, man, if season 8 is any indication of the quality of movies they could do, they've done like 12 movies in season 8. So it's like, great. You mean they'll actually do a Rick and Morty movie? I'm here for it.
Yeah. All 8 episodes of The Burrows are now out on net to rave reviews. I actually had people that, you know, they're not in the biz. They're just, you know, friends of ours who are like, have you guys watched The Burrows? It's great. You're going to love it. You should watch it. It is set in a retirement community. Stars Bill Pullman, Gina Davis, Alfred Molina, Dennis O'Hare, and Jenna Malone. It is basically the Duffer Brothers saying, instead of Stranger Things, where there's a bunch of kids who run across something supernatural and no one believes them, let's do it with old people who run across something supernatural and no one believes them. It is not part of the Stranger Things universe. If you're wondering how it's going to connect, it's not supposed to connect. But it is that same kind of Duffer Brothers vibe, if you will.
Man, I think it's great. It makes me think a little bit of, you remember the Twilight Zone movie? There was that one kick the can episode with all the old people who kick a can and magical things happen. Right. Just, I want it to feel like that, with that Spielberg glow to it.
Mm-hmm. Once again, that is called The Burrows. We also got a trailer for Vought Rising as The Boys comes to an end. The prequel, Vought Rising, will arrive in 2027. Did you watch the trailer?
Yeah, it made me kind of wish that I stuck with The Boys, but instead The Boys kept dishing out the same flavor of The Boys, and it turns out you can have enough. Not too much, just you can have enough. And then when you saw this, you could tell this felt like, what if a Fallout series was set entirely in the before times of Fallout, which now Fallout I'm still hungry for, but The Boys, I've had my fill.
Yeah. So now an aperitif after the main course.
Yeah. Although it does look pretty cool. I wish I still had a lot of emotional investment. What about you? What did you think?
Yeah, I had almost identical reaction of like, yeah, I kind of got full of The Boys. This looks sort of interesting. I almost wish that I wanted to watch it.
I almost wish I wanted to watch it. Put that on the poster for Vought Rising.
It's too damning the way I phrased it, but it really was my reaction of like, oh yeah, this looks like something I wish I wanted to watch.
Now, do you happen to know, and it's okay if you don't, we don't have to know everything, but I got the impression that I was supposed to recognize a face, like maybe somebody didn't age or, okay.
I think that's the Nazi woman from The Boys, but I didn't check.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So for those of you who like to point out when I'm wrong, there you go.
Cordkillers@gmail.com.
The Cliff Booth movie starring Brad Pitt will come to IMAX theaters on Thanksgiving weekend in the U.S. That's last Thursday in November, before heading to Netflix after a 2-week theatrical run. So a 2-week window from Netflix.
Very excited about this one. I think that David Fincher helming it, I'm stoked.
Tarantino wrote, right? Fincher just doing the directing. This past Saturday, Apple broadcast an entire Major League Soccer game. It was the LA Galaxy versus Houston Dynamo FC using only iPhone 17 Pros for cameras. There were 15 of them, and you could watch it on Apple TV using your iPhone, and then it was shot on iPhone. So it could be iPhone from end to end.
Tom, this sounds like a stunt. I don't even know, like, if I was to be, if I can share something, there's entire full episodes of the Monroe that we have shot just on my iPhone, and people can't tell which ones they are. I mean, because even after, once I get them, I throw them into image stabilization and upscaling some Topaz AI, and they look great. Like, I want to give a tip of the hat for the P.T. Barnum-esque stuntness of it, but I don't even know that it needs to be a stunt. The phones are that good.
honestly, it's just a way for Apple to make it natural for everyone to be talking about the iPhone for an entire for an entire Major League Soccer game.
Yeah.
Without having to do an ad, which they also do. Netflix has revealed the 100 Years of Solitude series part 2, including a standalone grand finale, will be coming in August. So you'll get the part 2 of the series on August 5th, and then on August 26th, they will drop the grand finale, which will be a nice movie-length episode to end it.
Did you tune in to 100 Years of Solitude?
I didn't. I love the book. I think it's fantastic, but I did not watch this yet. This reminded me that I had not watched it, and so I don't know. Maybe it'll work in August to make me want to watch the whole thing.
They say
Kpop
that
Demon Hunters.
If you're an author and you have a franchise, the best way to promote book 1 is to release book 6.
Book 2. Oh,
Yeah.
book 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Even better. Right. Kpop Demon Hunters set for a Criterion collection release on DVD, Blu-ray, and Ultra HD, 4K Ultra HD on December 31st, according to Amazon. If you're like, why would they do it after the holiday shopping season? Dates on Amazon often move around, so they often notoriously guess wrong at dates and then change them later. I would expect this will end up going on sale earlier in December. But the news here is Kpop Demon Hunters getting a physical release, even though it's a Netflix movie.
So is Criterion Collection, yes, physical release is part of it. If there are certain classes of completionists who keep the entire Criterion collection, so there's a prestige play, there's a quality confirmation. The thing I remember most about Criterion Collection when I was paying attention to that was I would go, and sounds silly probably to younger people, but before podcasts, it was a novel thing to hear a director talk about their project. And so I loved all that stuff. I'd be curious to see how much of that comes along with this.
Yeah, they are doing that kind of stuff on here. And I don't know what all the extra bonus features you'll get are yet, but that is one of the attractions to buying this. I think the other thing worth pointing out here is Sony created Kpop Demon Hunters, and then Netflix acquired it exclusively for their platform. But a lot of times when it's that, rather than Netflix's own studio doing a physical release is part of the deal. That's why House of Cards was released on Blu-ray, because it was made by someone else for Netflix. So that's probably what's going on here as well.
Yeah.
Finally, Dutton Ranch, which is the latest series in the Yellowstone franchise, premiered, generating 12.9 million streams globally in the first 7 days after it launched on Paramount. That makes it the biggest original series launch in Paramount Plus history, which I assume includes the CBS All Access days.
So, Tom, I assume this takes place after Yellowstone, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I am looking at the production still from this show, and I am 100% feeling the benefit of the full experience. There's no universe in which I wanted to give a full investment, a full, serious, unironic watch of Yellowstone, but our stunt allows me to feel 100% on the inside as I'm like, yeah, I know. Let me guess, is it like this? I could totally pass the cocktail party test thanks to the full experience.
Yeah, when I saw the main characters, I'm like, oh yeah, it's them.
Yeah, I bet it's like, I bet they're fighting or other F wording. I bet they're a pair of legs coming out of Tom Merritt's neck.
They're doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they're doing. Swimming is what I'm saying. All right, let's move on to The Buried Treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
Brian and I have the same buried treasure this week. Brian tipped me off to its existence. Explain only in Monroe, Brian.
Man, from context, I was able to piece together that I guess early on when in the Late Show, Stephen Colbert just picked a random cable access show in Monroe, Michigan to come and just take over for an episode. And after the completion of The Late Show, ending an entire chapter, depending on how weepy-eyed you want to be, the world that had moved on from classic television stuff. He went back, and I'm not entirely sure what the subtext was, but man, did he pull out all the stops. Jeff Daniels shows up. Jack White doesn't play music. He just hangs out by some AV equipment. It was really something. I must confess, I only watched most of it, but that first 3 minutes, I burst out laughing out loud. The line that got me was when he said, "Unfortunately, this show's very expensive to produce, and we have no advertisers. Now I know what CBS felt like," which I thought was great.
So, yeah, and I had to do a little digging into this after you sent it to me because I'm like, this is fantastic. Only in Monroe was a real cable access show back when Stephen Colbert was about to take over The Late Show from David Letterman after he had left Comedy Central and the Colbert Report. And he sort of did a stunt fill-in interviewing the hosts of Only Monroe at the time, which was kind of the joke of like, I'm filling in for you. So what have you been doing? They're like, well, you took over our show and we didn't have anything else to do, so we're here. And then he went on to host The Late Show. This resurrected Only in Monroe. Only in Monroe was no longer going, but a couple of weeks ago, the original host started doing it again. They had done 2 episodes, and then Steven came in and did the same thing, except those other 2 episodes looked like they were in somebody's house, whereas this was in a studio, potentially in Monroe, Michigan, I assume, but I'm not entirely
It
sure.
does seem like it would be cheaper to fly 2 hosts from Michigan to a studio than fly Stephen Colbert, Jack White, Jeff Daniels, and.
So I wondered about that. I also wondered about just how tight the switching was. Anytime that Jack White was supposed to be about to react, they knew and they switched. Somebody had clearly written a script. Now, Colbert could have written the script, but I bet he didn't. And it was only 24 hours after he had finished The Late Show, which was the joke. It had been a horrible 23 hours without being on television, so he had to be on Only in Monroe. Then I finally got the answer to a lot of these questions when takedown notices started to appear. I had previously noticed that the official Late Show channel was a collaborator with Only in Monroe, with the cable access channel on the YouTube. And then people started getting takedowns from Paramount for the Only in Monroe episode that just aired. And Variety reporting on that said that Stephen Colbert's return to Only in Monroe was financed and produced by CBS Studios and was posted on not only the Late Show channel, but also on Stephen Colbert's YouTube channel in collaboration with Monroe Community Media. And it was also on their channel. And Paramount just has, you know, an automated content takedown notice thing, which is why they were sending out the notices. Paramount did step in and say, we turned that off. If you repost this, it's fine. We understand that it is technically community media and that you're allowed to do that. But this was a CBS production. So when he's trashing CBS and trashing Paramount, he's doing it the same way he was doing it when he was trashing them as an employee of Paramount. This was probably technically the last episode he did for them.
You know what I liked the most about it was, weirdly, the big winner for me was the YouTube collaboration feature. Like, it legitimized that institution in a way. Like, we've done it once on the Monroe channel with Dr. Jordan Breeding's channel, but it makes me want to maybe, as soon as we're done with this very live broadcast, we can set up as a collaboration with Daily Tech News Show. Like, that's just a habit that we should get into, because it doesn't take anything away from, I mean, it elevated Stephen Colbert's channel. It took nothing away from CBS. It elevated the Only in Monroe channel.
Yeah, exactly. It made people realize Only in Monroe, or the Monroe Community Media, I should say, existed. And it's going to make people realize that Stephen Colbert's own YouTube channel existed. I assume that as part of his exit contract is that he gets a little promotion out of CBS for his own deal. And I'm very curious to see what he puts on that channel too.
Yeah, I'm curious as well. It seems like a very cost-effective way just to ease, to make it not such a boohooey end of an era thing. And I don't know, to be honest, he probably does nothing with it. It probably us talking about it is the bulk of the value. Maybe there's some kind of, like Jack Black will occasionally just, come back and do gaming stuff on Jablonski Games and then go off to be Hollywood again and then come back. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I get the feeling Colbert has plans for that channel to do something. The way Letterman went to Netflix and did interviews, I feel like
Wouldn't
Colbert
that
is
be
like,
wild,
you know what I've
if-
always wanted to do is X, and he's going to do it on this YouTube channel.
I'll tell you what, at the very least, doing a thing that has a monologue, I would imagine that when you have, forget the money, forget the status, forget the being the king of late night media or whatever, it's probably pretty neat to be able to say a thing that becomes a cultural touchstone for the day, to be part of the conversation. I'd imagine that's hard to give up, and it wouldn't surprise me if whatever he did had a monologue that, to be honest, like Jamie, I want to say Jamie Oliver, who am I thinking? John Oliver with Last Week
John
Tonight,
Oliver,
figured out that basically the bulk of the show could be a monologue that gets clipped up and thrown on YouTube. And
honestly, one of the things Colbert lost when he went to the Late Show was the newsy aspect of things he did on the Colbert Report. He emulated them, and he did them more than a typical late night talk show host would do. Maybe he goes back to that. Maybe he goes back to just sitting at a desk, doing the word of the day, Colbert Report style stuff.
It would be pretty metal for him to bring back full on the Colbert Report, both in violation of his contract at Viacom and in violation with the phony baloney contract to the word salad that they did legally to get away with doing it on the Late Show. And where he personally is like, no, this is a third level meta parody of that being that other thing.
Don't forget, Comedy Central was on Viacom when he left, but is now part of Paramount.
That's pretty funny. Wow.
So he just left both of them to go independent.
That would be that would be pretty.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna plant my flag on that. That's what I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, no, I like that too. All right, if you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. Real quickly, a reminder that Brian and I are going to get together to talk about how we do all the stuff we do, how you could do similar things in your own vein with your own expertise. And you could be there. You could be there, not only hear us talk about it, ask us questions, but also have a lovely resort-like accommodation to retire to for the night. Plenty of food and drink that I can't even describe, Brian. It's so cool.
Dude, look, head on over to wizardacademy.org. This is a 501c3 nonprofit business school. They do this awesome kind of an intersection of art and entrepreneurship. A lot of small businesses are in charge of their own marketing, their own advertisers. Now, you could pay a big highfalutin business to come up with ad campaigns and they'll bleed you dry, or you could take a class, you could learn how to tell better stories, and you could reach more people on your own. Lord knows that's the way Tom and I did it. We somehow have existed as bizarre creatures north of the wall in the independent wilds, and we'd like to pass on our wisdom to you guys. If you run a small business, if you're a small business person, if you're a mega fan looking for an excuse to head on out, do this. Grab your significant other, fly on out. This is June 22nd, 23rd, I believe. Head on over to wizardacademy.org to check it. Look, there's a big price tag because this is a tax-deductible business expense. It says $4,000. Look, forget about it. Don't listen to that. I'm not supposed to be saying this in public. I'm saying this in public. Use promo code WEIRD at checkout, and it's going to cut it in half. So here's what you're going to get. You're going to get an evening session, 2 full days, with Tom and I and Andrew Heaton and Justin Robert Young, totally guns a-blazing, business wisdom, everything we know about the biz in all of our polished material. And you get 3 nights of accommodations in a luxury resort. It's a
You know, the prompt to try to get exactly the shot we want. First 25 minutes of the movie required 16,181 video generations. They ended up with 253 final shots.
I think this is a worthy expense. This is me purely speaking in terms of an ad spend. 100%. I don't want to say a coup. This was a very good stunt because what they have is a top of the line buffet of all the best tools. What they lack is any halo or appreciation of legitimacy for the very type of content that they encourage people to make. You guys have heard me talk about this before. In the late 90s or mid 90s, listen to Mixmaster Mike play with the Beastie Boys. All those samples that he's playing are not things he created. They're all, air quotes, stolen media. But if you listen to Hello Nasty, clearly you can find the art and the artistry in whatever is happening. If you are Higgsfield AI, then this stunt of $500,000, as wasteful as it was to create this giant collage of pieces and to hire an auteur to wasteful meaning you generated a lot of clips that you didn't use. To create you got to create a lot of content to select the best part. Effectively, the press release is there's artistry in what ultimately comes out in the performance. You look skeptical, Tom.
Well, I had a very different reaction to this than apparently you did. I saw this as like, damn, they made a really cheap movie. And then I read the Wall Street Journal article and I was like, but it took a lot of work. And the narrative out there is like, it saves you money and you can replace people. And what they were saying is, yes, saved us money, on what we might have spent on, paying actors and effects and all of that. But you still needed human talent to make it. You still needed to be an auteur. So to me, it wasn't like wasteful money. It was more demonstrating that just because you use these tools doesn't mean you don't need skills. Was kind of where
I think we're on the cusp of accidentally hard agreeing with each other. I think we're both saying the same thing. What I'm emphasizing is, in order for this to be anything interesting, you need to, as I think of it, find the human. And the human is in the selector of the difference between the 16,000 shots generated and the 285 used, which I use the word waste, whatever ended up on the cutting room floor. But my point being, just like Mixmaster Mike, selected what goes into his mixes and so on.
Yeah, I can see where somebody would hear all this, and where I saw work, they hear waste, and it's a good reminder that a bunch of stuff ends up on the cutting room floor, even when you don't. Use
just like the statue of David, a lot of marble got wasted in the generation of that statue.
Speaking of a waste, Mandalorian and the Grogu is apparently not a waste.
Okay,
generating $100 million domestically. And $163 million globally. However, as good as that debut is, a lot of the industry analysts are saying, how's it going to do week 2? Because Solo, a Star Wars story, did roughly equivalent numbers when it arrived on Memorial Day weekend in 2018, and then it tanked and became the first Star Wars movie not to make its money back in the initial run. Imagine they've probably made it back at this point just through other deals, but it was considered a flop because of that. So we will see next week if Mandalorian and Grogu holds the gross and continues to make money and continues to be successful. I have heard very mixed things. I have not seen it yet, and I've heard some people tell me they think it's great. You should absolutely go see it. And I've heard other people tell me like, yeah, it was like a big TV show in the theater. You might want to wait for streaming. And I'm not sure which to believe.
Well, here's a trick I like to rely on, Tom, is I don't listen to the words. I think of musical notes. And whenever people are talking and they say, hey, it's good, it's good, it's good. You're like, all right, a bit of an uptick. Followed by something, and then they sound like kind of like this. And then they're like, but it's good.
No, you're gonna like it.
This is how you talk about a good movie. It's in these musical tones. You don't talk about it like that.
I see. Okay, good to know. Here's another thing that's good to know. Embracer Group is going to spin off The Lord of the Rings and Tomb Raider. It's got the rights to the intellectual property for both into a new Stockholm-listed IP-led business called Fellowship Entertainment, clearly naming it after the Lord of the Rings part of the IP, not the Tomb Raider part of the IP. Embracer will continue to support its more entrepreneurial efforts, including Vertigo games, Destroy All Humans, Titan Quest, Hot Wheels Unleashed, SpongeBob, all of that stuff. But this new company is going to focus on creating content around Lord of the Rings and Tomb Raider, specifically probably movies and TV shows along with video games. In related news, Peter Jackson suggesting that for the first time, the Tolkien Estate might allow films based on the Silmarillion. That is something that Embracer and now Fellowship did not have the rights to monetize with as content. Christopher Tolkien, the son of J.R.R. Tolkien, was firmly against letting the Silmarillion be used as a basis for movies and TV shows, but he is no longer with us. And Peter Jackson says, well, the people at the estate seem to be loosening up on that.
Yeah, I would imagine that third generation children of the creator probably are rather accustomed to the lifestyle that they are allowed to lead.
Well, Dad was always a bit sticky about these sorts of things, but I'm sure we could come to some sort of arrangement that's reasonable, right, Brian?
Yes, although, you know what? I just realized, Tom, we forgot. We buried a lead, so we're putting a new segment. Things that we forgot to put in the doc that probably should have been the primary target. We're bringing back the primary target for this. You ready? Brian canceled 100% of his streaming services.
Oh, but we're doing that next week as the big story once you've lived with it for a week.
Okay,
or
that's
so,
a teaser.
to see
That's a
how
new
it's
segment
going.
called Teasing Next Week's Primary Target. Also bringing back Primary Target.
Obviously, that was always my intention.
Of
I
course.
didn't just come up with that
Of
right now in
course.
response to you reminding me that you had done that.
Yes.
So definitely stick around next week. No, but you do to continue to tease it. All kidding aside.
Yeah. Well,
you used.
Basically, there's a new feature rolling out with ChatGPT that allows you to link it to your financial stuff, and you can ask open-ended plain questions like, let's say I want to put every subscription on the chopping block. What all would they be? And it just served them up. And I'm like, die, next, kill. I think the only one I kept was Spotify because that is present tense. And I had the conversation with my family. I'm like, look, we're canceling everything. Don't worry about it. The moment you want it, maybe you'll want it later this afternoon, in which case we'll do it. But for right now, anything you want, it's still through the end of the month. We're going to play a guessing game of when you will find out that you want it. And I think the sum total, this is going to sound like this is how many over-the-top services we have. That's not the case. But between, like, for example, Higgsfield AI, I was paying for, I don't know, I was live on the air, and I said, yeah, sure, give me them credits, and played around with deepfakes and stuff. Didn't know that it'd still run, hadn't got around to using it. So stuff like that, all told, annualized, I was able to, in about 4 hours, cancel $5,000 of obligations for a year. And I'll by next week, I'll let you know if any one of them even popped ahead. Oh, and I also kept YouTube Premium because having an ad show up on a stream would be bad.
Yeah, and you knew that would happen the minute you were done with the tool.
Yes.
And you would want it back. So
yeah.
I think that makes sense. All right, let's move on to the chatter. Got mail. Martin writes, in regards to our previous episode last week, we had a discussion about when we might see a high-quality drama series on YouTube and suggested maybe Video Game High School back in 2011 is an example of that. Was a Kickstarter for a web series about a school that trains in esports, ran for 3 seasons, all available for free on YouTube. I think we talked about it on Frame Rate, as a matter of fact, because I remember hearing about this. It's not there anymore, but they did edit season 1 into a movie-length version that was available on Netflix. And then Martin writing this about Video Game High School reminded me of The Guild. Felicia
of course.
Day's series, which she is bringing back to make a movie about as well. I think these are great examples, and I'm very glad Martin reminded me of Video Game High School. But none of those, VGHS or The Guild or others that you might think of, broke out into the mainstream.
Yeah.
And became a, Dutton Ranch or Star Trek or something like that. So I realize I'm moving the goalposts from our original conversation, but I'm like, oh, good point. VGHS is a high quality drama. So to really be like, okay, can YouTube match Netflix, Peacock, Disney Plus? I think I need to change that definition to be like, it breaks out in the mainstream. People know what you're talking about generally, no matter who you're talking to. Oh yeah, I've heard of that, even if they haven't watched.
Well, and another way to couch it that I think will be less confrontational would be to basically set Video Game High School as the standard, the one to beat, like whatever the best that we can find from YouTube has to beat that one. And in that case, it was subsidized. It was shot at the where Eileen worked. Like I remember visiting her and walking past the Video Game High School locker hall.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not trying to be confrontational at all, but I am trying to be honest that, like, hey, if I go up to an average person on the street and say, have you heard of Star Trek? And have you heard of Video Game High School? They're more likely to have heard of Star Trek, right? And certainly more likely to have heard of, like, I don't know, CSI or something like that. So, at what point does YouTube make that? And I'm saying they probably will. That someone will probably make it at that level. Stealth Dave says, on this week's Cordkillers, you had a wonderful discussion about how YouTube has become television for the modern age. For our household, YouTube replaces a very specific aspect of television, channel surfing. In our regular viewing, we tend to figure out what we want to watch, go to whatever service it streams on. Want to watch the latest Game of Thrones, you go to HBO, Stranger Things, you go to Netflix. But if we don't have time to watch a whole show or we just want to be distracted, we turn on YouTube. In the broadcast days, when you just wanted something on in the background, you flipped around the channels to see what was there. Today, that's replaced by the algorithm, specifically YouTube's. Just go to the homepage. It's easy to find low engagement, fast entertainment. That's not to say that there isn't high engagement content on YouTube, but when you want quick entertainment, YouTube is the place to go. Keep on killing, my friends. The chords, that is. Don't kill your friends.
Yeah, wait, keep on killing. Boy, on the importance of commas. Thank you, Stealth Dave. I would say even more analogous this is just a double down. Like, you're not only correct about YouTube on the big screen, but also, of course, the YouTube Shorts experience.
Yeah.
It right down to the fact that your Shorts watching device is the same size and shape as a remote control, right? And you just sit there like a god on a throne saying, next, next.
Sometimes literally on a throne.
Yeah. All right.
Sean the Dad writes, regarding having a C+ assistant, my wife had a coworker who was that C+ human being. He went by First Day Doug. Well, Doug is not his real name. Among her more competent coworkers, they called him that because everyone had to explain how to do something to him as if it was his first day of work every time. I asked her if she'd be interested in using an AI agent for work, and she was adamant to having an infinite number of First Day Dougs.
Yeah. Well, and I got to tell you, though, we're cresting a hill. Over the last month, the First Day Doug seemed to get the memo on some things, and I felt for the first time in my workflow, I was like, oh, if this went away, it would be a setback for my business. And I had that tickle of 1995, the internet, where I'm like, oh, it's less crazy to design a system where this is an integral part to it.
Bob in Jupiter writes, hi, Brian and Tom. I enjoyed Cordkillers today. Thanks as always for what you do. I thought I would share something that I just watched. I don't recall if you might enjoy sci-fi movies as much as I do, but over lunch, I watched Companion on HBO Max and really enjoyed it. I asked Claude for recommendations, and that film topped the list. I have attached the chat. All the best to you as always. P.S. My Patreon membership day, and now it's $2.
Heck yeah. $2 an episode. That's all we ask. $2 Chuck. That's what we want you to be to us.
Chucks. Chuck $2 our way.
Yeah.
And then when I was talking about Westworld last week, I promised I would be wrong about something again. And Bill near Athens wrote, "Good news. I already know what you were wrong about. You said it was about time Grey's Anatomy got a spinoff because the new series is set in West Texas. However, Grey's Anatomy already had 3 spinoffs. Spinoff 1 was Private Practice, which I, by the way, actually watched. So I probably should have remembered that. Dr. Addison Montgomery, played by Kate Walsh. Spinoff number 2, Station 19. Dr. Ben Warren quits the hospital to become a firefighter. Spinoff number 3, Grey's Anatomy B Team. Bill admits, I had never heard of this. A 6-episode web series focused on the experience of first-year surgical interns. And then you said the name of the hospital is Seattle Grace. It was Seattle Grace, but is currently Gray Sloan Memorial. It was changed after, spoiler. Can't imagine how many similar mistakes I would make if I was doing your job. Keep up the good work, Bill. Thank you, Bill.
Exceeding expectations across the board, even on our number of mistakes.
And then finally, hey, Tom and Brian, you mentioned Mystery Science Theater as a show that was crowdsourced. Another very successful version of this was the series The Chosen. It started with a crowdsourcing relationship with Angel Fire Studios, where the money was split 50-50, and is now a full-fledged 501c3 organization called Come NC that can get tax-exempt and matching donations. Not sure it could work for all other projects, but this one seems pretty successful. Mark in Detroit. P.S. And now all is in equilibrium with the Cubs. If you follow baseball, you know what he means.
Yeah, I don't.
Thank you, Mark.
So I don't.
For that. Don't even worry about it. That is it for this episode of Cordkillers. Thanks, everybody, for watching and supporting the show. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email is cordkillers@gmail.com. We are live at twitch.tv/Night Attack and youtube.com/Modern Rogue, Tuesdays, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Yeah.
All
right. I have a terrible fear, Tom, that I want to allay. The AC kind of stalled out, and I just spent like $1,000 getting the coolant in there. I just want to peek and see if the coil is frozen over, because that'd be bad if that was the case.
Would it be good or bad if it's frozen?
Oh, very bad indeed.
Bad. Okay, bad. So we will, while Brian goes and checks that coil, send warming vibes to the coil. Do not be frozen over. Be slick and slimy and clean and joyous. We want to see a joyous air conditioning coil. So I need you all to manifest this with me, okay? If you want to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. You don't have to. But just imagine a healthy, clean, not frozen over air conditioning coil for Brian, okay? We're gonna hold that image in our minds. And if enough of us do this, there's a very good chance that it will make that the reality of Brian's coil. Now, you may say, I don't know what a coil looks like. I don't know what Brian's coil specifically looks like. And that's okay. It's the intentionality that is important in this exercise. So you have to have the goodness of your heart that you are manifesting this coil. You have to understand that frozen over is not what we want. And then you have to kind of just generally send those thoughts towards Brian in Austin. It's not so much a directionality. It's not like you have to face towards Austin, Texas, but you just have to kind of know that they're going that way in your head. And then once you've imagined that coil in good repair, there's a very good chance that all of us doing this together will make that coil be something that is a reality. And that Brian will come back and he'll sit down and he'll say, whew, I checked It's just that the thermostat went off. It's all good. And he may or may not even know that it's because of you and your good heart that his air conditioner is working well. And that $1,000 that he spent to repair it wasn't wasted. I know you may be thinking, Tom, that's not science. That's not how the world works. And you're right. That's not science. But are you sure it's not how the world works? Are you 100% sure? Because if you're not, I'm going to play on that doubt, because that's what people do. Hey, look, it's Amos. How's it going, Amos? Yeah, you showed up just for the full experience? We can't hear Amos yet. We need you all to manifest Amos's audio coming through. Think about Amos's audio. Send it towards us. And then we'll be able to hear Amos.
We're just using the vMix audio, Amos.
Ah, okay. We just need to get vMix audio from Amos, and then we'll be able to hear him. Man, Brian's gone a little longer than I would expect him to be.
I don't know
gone
if y'all can
things
hear,
were-
but he's doing a lot of shouting and grunting.
That's not good. That's not a good thing. Is it angry shouting, Ryan?
It is. It's somewhere
Yeah,
in between.
I heard that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here he is.
All right. Stop. Oh my God. You were killing me. It was a scene right out of a movie where it's like there. First of all, there's only supposed to be like 2 screws, but when they serviced it, they put all the screws in. So I'm just like, well, God, oh no, I don't have a thing. And I'm trying to do, and it's like, well, this is kind of opening, and it's like I got 1 screw. I'm like, oh no, I'm good. And then you start doing the bit, and I'm just like, oh man, this is kind of funny. I'm like, and it started to get mad, and then my fingers, and I'm like, but I'm gonna use the utility key. Oh, that's a good tie-in because we brought those back at Scam Stuff, and it's got a flathead screwdriver. Anyway, it was agonizing because it was like an LLM where it was just like it was about to be off. Anyway, I got it down to 1 screw, and I just sort of yanked it and bent it a little bit and tilted it up. Not frozen over.
Thank you, everyone, for manifesting the not frozen over coil for Brian.
Non-freezingness.
We all can take credit for that. It was because of you, because you were able to send those vibes to Brian that his coil is in good shape. So,
Yeah.
So feel good about that.
Although, yes. That was intense. That was, hi, Amos.
Hi.
And now we can hear Amos. Everyone, thank you for
Where they
manifesting
manifested
Amos's
Amos,
audio.
and they manifested a non-frozen coil. And whatever you do, manifest keeping those legs out of Tom's neck forever and ever and ever. Yeah, no, that was a real emotional roller coaster.
So if you could not have heard me, would it have made it worse or better?
It made it. I probably would have punched out, but instead it was more agonizing for me.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was personally torturing both you and everyone on the stream, but it also, like, I knew for a fact that something was happening on the stream, and so it caused me to keep on trying. It'll only be a second long. I'm sure the next generation is gonna have it correct.
Yeah. I'm glad all is well with your coil.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Coil friend.
So I was stuck on my infamous only road today, going into and out of Anchorage. So I didn't have a chance to watch the episode for the full experience.
Oh, well,
I could have watched it in traffic because I sat there long enough to probably watch the whole thing.
Well, luckily we did watch it so that we could tell you all about it.
I'm here for it.
Fantastic.
All right, I'm ready. Thank you very much, Zoe Brings Bacon. Thank you so much, 9 of 12. Thank you so much, Dylan Theus. Thank you so much, BioCow. Thank you so much, Paolo DLR. Thank you very much, G. James B.
GGSB.
You guys did it.
Yeah. Okay, ready.
Welcome to the full experience. This is a show where we watch 4 episodes of a television show to see if we can get the gist of it. And maybe even speak sometimes as if we've seen the entire run of the episode by only watching 4 episodes. The first, ultimate, lowest, and last. Full, ultimate, and lowest being determined by the ratings people give it on IMDb. And we are beginning, after our bridge episodes, the full experience of Murder, She Wrote. We are starting with the first episode, which is, in fact, a made-for-TV movie. It is considered episode 100. So if you look for the first episode, you're going to see a different episode, episode 101. But The Murder of Sherlock Holmes first aired September 30th, 1984. Episode 1 aired the next week. So we have determined in our wisdom that this is the origin story, which it very much is, of Murder, She Wrote, and therefore the first episode that's going to set the tone for the series. And that's what we watched. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Hey, man, this first episode, I was impressed by the quality and the caliber of talent. They had Keith David. He was fresh off of They Live at the time. You know, he's the president on Rick and Morty. At least that's what I thought for the first 20 minutes as an interesting plot with an FBI special agent, a victim of a murder who was stabbed in the back. And then I got home because I was watching that kind of, while I was stuck in traffic. But then I went home and I resumed season 1, episode 1. I paid for it again, except this time it was a totally different episode. It was the one called The Murder of Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, so they brought Murder, She Wrote back and called it Murder, She Wrote New, in parentheses. And if you weren't seeing the new, get fooled. I almost did the exact same thing, but I was specifically looking for The Murder of Sherlock Holmes after almost watching episode 1 and then realizing, oh, wait, that's not actually the first episode, because Apple TV, once I got to the correct Murder, She Wrote, the old 1980s one, showed me The Murder of Sherlock Holmes as the first episode. Anyway, who would have thought first episodes of a television show would be such an exercise in interpretation? We've run into this multiple times in doing the full experience.
Yeah. Well, and then on top of that, we get another layer of the full experience, which is, how did you enjoy getting 2 introductions? First, the traditional Murder, She Wrote arrangement and music with the clips from other episodes. Then another one with a more leisurely early iteration of the Murder, She Wrote theme.
Yeah, I think that is an effect of syndication.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the original September 30th, 1984 airing just began with the Gothic, we're seeing a murder. Oh, wait, it's just a play. And then you go into the Murder, She Wrote extended intro. And they tacked on the season 1 intro to that for syndication later on. But yeah, as soon as we went into the Gothic thing, I'm like, well, this is an interesting way to start it. And then they're like, it's a play. I'm like, okay. Then we get the intro again. I'm like, oh, that original intro never happened that way. It was a cold open into this Gothic fake out theater thing.
Now, wait, was that Linda Blair in that?
Oh, I don't think so. I did look up the cast, and I do not remember seeing Linda Blair.
Linda,
but I believe it was supposed to look like her. I'm double checking this though. I know Ned Beatty shows up later in the episode, which is great.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't see a credit for Linda Blair.
Oh, Murder Takes the Bus. Nope, never mind. Turns out I'm wrong. I just thought I saw it.
Cordkillers@gmail.com.
Yeah, although a lot of these are showing up on Murder Takes the Bus.
Murder Takes the Bus. What is that?
I don't know. I just wrote Linda Blair, Murder, She Wrote. Yeah, we'll see.
Oh,
Because also I thought that was John Cryer in the beginning of it, and I looked him up, and I found a bunch of unrelated things.
The theater seemed to be a house as well once they left. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't. I didn't. To be honest, Tom, I'm a little bit cautious on commenting on the beginning of the episode because I don't remember whether it was the real episode or the second one, because that scene was so disconnected from everything else.
So in The Murder of Sherlock Holmes, the episode starts with we're in a Gothic house and there's someone, stalking her. And then just when you think like, this is the murder we're going to be investigating, the house lights come up like, no, let's do it again from the top. And then he gets distracted because Angela Lansbury, or Jessica Fletcher, I should say, and two other women are in the audience, and they're there to help. They're the Citizens Committee for such and such a thing. And then they leave, they go out of the theater. And when you're outside the theater, there's a door that says theater entry, but it just looks like someone's house. It doesn't look like an actual theater building. It looks like they put a sign that says theater entry on the front door of a house.
Yes. Okay. Well, now, by the way, it turns out I was not crazy. I did see the words Linda Blair associated with Murder, She Wrote. She was in season 1, episode 18 or 20, depending on how you count.
Okay. She's
Murder
in a
Takes
later
the Bus.
episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a number of production notes on this. First of all, I think it's Ned Beatty is the musician, the musical theater guy, right?
No, Ned Beatty is the investigator.
That's right. Okay. Well,
he's the local investigator that helps Jessica.
That's right. And where I've seen him in a bunch of other 80s movies.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind is what I always think of him as being.
Who was he in that?
I don't remember his name. Let me find out. His name.
While you're looking for that, I could shouts out to the stunt person.
Oh, and Superman. He was Otis in Superman.
Yeah, that's right. He was the second to Lex Luthor. That's where I kept remembering him.
Yeah, actually, it's not Close Encounters. I don't know why that was even in my head. It was Superman.
I was curious about that one too. But he
he's
was
Lex's
the same neighborhood.
bumbling assistant.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now I'm landing on it. Shouts out to the stunt person who did the stunts for Jessica Fletcher. There's a few times like when she tries to stop some taxi cabs, she spins around and they're like, that's not her. And the street toughs grab her and take her off to the side. Then also when the musician is playing the piano, it's framed so that you could tell he's definitely not playing the piano on there. And then there was one other kind of hilarious production moment as well. But good shots. That opening sequence looks and feels like a movie. You could tell that they were intentionally starting off camp because Murder, She Wrote at the time tried to elevate the very genre of the murder mystery because that's a very cheap genre to shoot. And so they began with all those campy tropes and then they pulled out to reveal that's what a bad play looks like. We're doing, and then all of the shots are long depth of field, on location. You get what's her name, Jessica Fletcher, running, and I thought it was really engaging right at the outset.
Yeah, I thought so too. If anything, it may wrap itself up a little too fast at the end, which is typical of television of this time. But I thought it was well paced. Otherwise, there's some anachronisms here. She's a small town author who's making it big, and the Today Show, Letterman, and Donahue.
Oh, I loved that. I loved Donahue.
Donahue. We don't get to see any of them, sadly, but we do get to see her on some other appearances. I don't understand why they're black and white. Did you notice that? Like when we see her on television, it's black and white.
I think they did that in situ so that like you could take them as a production monitor. And also black and white televisions weren't that uncommon.
Weren't as
at
uncommon
that time.
back in 1984. That is true. Also, I found it interesting that it took 28 minutes to actually get to the murder.
Yeah.
It's called Murder, She Wrote. Everybody's waiting for the murder, and they like strung it out.
Well, and the episode is called The Murder of Sherlock Holmes. And so then you see somebody dressed as Sherlock Holmes. You're like, well, we're just taking our time with this, are we?
Yeah. Then you have the mistaken identity that you're like, well, I know who was dressed as Sherlock Holmes, so I assume that's who died. And they're like, aha, so did everyone else, but we were all wrong, you and us too. The only weakness in that, I like that conceit. The doctor said that he had looked at the body. The doctor was at the party with Caleb, the guy they thought had been murdered. I feel like the doctor would have noticed it wasn't Caleb if he was doing a proper examination of the body.
Yeah, they also said they blew half his face off, and there was no blood in that water. there was very sanitary.
Yeah, I guess with his face blown, I actually had not thought about the fact that they said his face was blown off, and I guess that's supposed to keep us from recognizing it. But it's an entirely different body type.
Well, and okay, as long as we're picking it apart. First of all, that ending I did not approve of. Too hard of a left turn, unnecessarily. Like, a good murder mystery feels like it should have been solvable. This was most certainly not solvable. The guy's like, oh, by the way, I led a double life. I escaped from a prison pretending to be dead. They stopped looking, except there was a crack detective who eventually found me out. Both of us looked very different. Anyway, hopefully you've read the Count of Monte Cristo. This will make maybe more sense.
And because I'm a gentleman, I will turn myself in now.
I loved that part when the tension got really up because, okay, so what happens in the show, if you guys didn't watch it, Amos, there's a moment where she correctly identifies who the bad guy is. They definitely establish that they are alone on the premises. They establish that this person is capable of murder and doesn't like to be in prison. And there's a moment he puts his hands on her. And
yes,
this being a pilot 2-part episode, we don't know the rules of this show. We start with a trope that breaks like it depicts a traditional murder mystery and says, no, we're not doing that. We're doing something better. And then they do have enough grit and in the city production, movie-like values that eventually when we get to this part, like, oh, damn, are we going to be this kind of show where like straight up murder and peril are on the menu? They're like, no, we will not. Where the rules are, when she finds the killer says, you got me. This is like a Perry Mason episode.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it like that because I'm like, oh, they ran out of time. So they just had him turn himself in. But you're right. There is a justification in the Jessica Fletcher-esque mode that we're in. The only other thing I'll point out is that when she goes into the big scary house alone, and you know she shouldn't, they decided to just throw in some howls in the distance.
Yeah.
Which felt like, oh, we're going back to the campy first scene a little bit with that.
Oh, that is interesting. I wonder if that was intentional. Well, and you know what? They also, in the campy first scene, we have thunder and lightning strikes. And in this case, we echo it with sonic booms.
Yes, right.
In the evening. I didn't know that we were going to get an origin story, both of her as a mystery solver and as a writer. I didn't see that coming. That was great.
Yeah. And we had known from watching the Bridge episodes, which normally we wouldn't know anything with the full experience, that she does not consider herself to be an investigator. She just is helpful because she, can put things together and connect things. And I actually like that they have a scene where she's very Sherlock Holmes and it's like, well, obviously this person did it, to the theater, person right at the beginning, to establish like, oh, she's very observant and very deductive. But they don't keep hammering. I was like, oh, so we're going to keep having this happen like you do with Sherlock Holmes. And they didn't. They did not hammer us over the head with that. And I thought that was a good use of like, hey, we've established she's very observant. She's obviously reluctant to be famous, also reluctant to be an investigator. But I guess where I was going with that at the beginning is like, I didn't realize she was a reluctant author as well as a reluctant
which is
investigator.
doubly fun after being introduced to it via the Bridge episode, in which the whole conceit was, no, I'm not a private investigator. I am a writer. I am
just
definitely 100% a writer and nothing else. And then she's like, I'm not even a writer. I'm a widow.
I'm a substitute teacher, and that's it. Yeah. No, I thought this was really fun, and I am looking forward to our next episode, the ultimate episode, starring Linda Blair.
Wait, for real?
Season 1, episode 18, Murder Takes the Bus.
Oh
March
my
17th,
God, get out of
1985.
here. Are you serious?
Yeah, I didn't put that together when you said it earlier. I just now looked and I'm like, oh, right. That's our next episode.
That's hilarious. Okay. It also has Rue McClanahan from Golden Girls in it. She steals
wow,
the show.
okay.
Also, how about that most 80s party of all time? From the smoke in the room to the assumption that at some point the person who knows how to play the piano is going to start playing the piano so everyone can sing songs at the end of the evening, to now the sun is rising and the butler is collecting all of the ashtrays, putting them in the whatever that thing is. I loved it. I loved everything about it.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us for the full experience. As I just mentioned, our next episode will be season 1, episode 18, Murder Takes the Bus. That is the highest rated episode on IMDb, therefore our ultimate episode. You get these first if you're a patron, and you get to hear us talk about which ones we're going to choose, and therefore you can weigh in on which ones we're going to choose next by listening to After Talk. That is only available to patrons at patreon.com/Cordkillers. That's it for us. We'll see you next time with the ultimate episode. Thanks for listening.
Bye. Yeah. Bye, live stream people.
Bye, live stream.
Bye.